Right, so I made one video about how Bill Blair is a liar, and I'm going to make another video because the guy just can't stop lying, and there's so much misinformation when it comes to gun control out there that just have to make another video. So in Parliament about a week ago or so, he was talking and he tweeted this out, and he says the AR-15 and other weapons like it have been used in mass killings in Canada, including Ecole Polytechnique, Dawson College, the Islamic Cultural Center of Quebec City, Moncton, and against children at Sandy Hook in the U.S. These weapons have no place in our communities, and this is the problem with the leftist argument, is that they can't make the factual, reasonable, objective arguments, because they always resort to the emotional, these weapons have no place in our communities argument. The problem with the first thing he said is, number one, the AR-15 has never been used in a even in a shooting, let alone a mass shooting in Canada, at least that I've heard of. And I'm sure if it had, I'm sure if it had been, they would be reminding us about it at nauseum. The problem is that, number one, Ecole Polytechnic happened in the 1980s. If you need to have evidence that gun control is this huge issue and there's people running around with guns shooting people all the time in Canada, why do you have to go back to the 1980s to prove your point? Why do you have to bring up stuff that happened in other countries? Like, seriously, why do you have to do that? And the, like, for starters, the gun used at Ecole Polytechnic was the Ruger Mini 14, I believe, which has very little, in common with the AR-15, aside from the fact that it uses the same magazines. That is the only thing that it has in common. It is a traditional wood stock. It looks like a hunting rifle. It is used as a hunting rifle. When you look up Ruger Mini 14, one of the most common things you'll see is people buy it for coyote hunting because it's very good for that, and that's oftentimes when you're shooting coyotes, there's multiple coyotes, and you want to have a semi-automatic gun because it is easier to shoot the coyotes. Now, the problem that the left comes up with is, oh, semi-automatic guns can kill a lot of people very fast, which technically is true to an extent. The problem is that if they're this big issue, then why aren't more people using them to commit crimes? Why aren't more, if the AR-15 is this deadly military weapon that's a killing machine, then why hasn't it been used in any crimes in Canadian history? Why? The only way that their argument makes sense, or even needs to be entertained, I would say, is if it's constantly being used in shootings, but it isn't. Semi-automatic rifles are incredibly rare to be used in shootings in Canada and even in the States. Um, the overwhelming majority of them are handguns, and the overwhelming majority of those are illegal to begin with. And they don't want to acknowledge that because that would show just, I mean, it already shows how stupid they are. But I think the point right now is to go after the rifles and then down the road go after the handguns. Like, it's like I said, like, mark my words, they will go out. The next thing, I mean, assuming they get it done, and this is the big problem, that this upcoming, these court cases are going to be massive um, cases, because the point being is that, number one, they could be precedent setting. In fact, they probably would be precedent setting, which means if the government can do this, that means that they can ban everything. That literally means that they can ban everything. If they get this done, I would bet every dollar I have that they will go after all semi, because they just banned most semi-automatic rifles. They will ban all semi-automatic rifles. They will ban all handguns, and after that, they'll start going after the bolt actions, whatever shotguns they haven't banned, and pretty much everything. You'll be lucky to be left with single shots after they'll be done. And they already banned some single shot shotguns, so they may not even have anything. And it's like I say too, it's this. I know people scoff, at least the non-gun owners and the anti-gun people, about the slippery slope argument, but you want to ban everything. Like, just be honest with people. They constantly bring up, oh, you don't have the Second Amendment, like the states argument, even though every leftist and in pretty well every anti-gunner in the states wants to ban pretty much all guns. If you want to ban all semi-automatic guns, you want to ban probably 90% of guns that exist, because all that would mean all handguns. And by semi-automatic, I would assume they would include double action, which technically isn't semi-automatic, but in their mind it would be, which means revolvers would all be banned. Um, so all handguns would be banned, and all semi-automatic rifles would be banned. You'd be left with bolt actions, single shots, 22s. They might even, I mean, they're already banning some 22s. So you probably wouldn't even be left with the semi-automatic 22s. And they would claim sniper rifles are sorry, that bolt action rifles are sniper rifles. So the whole, oh, you don't need an AR-15 to hunt argument is stupid, because I will guarantee you that these same people will argue within the next 5 to 10 years, assuming the Liberals stay in power, that we need to ban the bolt action rifles because they're sniper rifles. I mean, it's only a matter of time until there's a prominent shooting or shootings with a bolt action rifle, especially if it's from distance, and it'll be, oh, we need to ban them because they're sniper rifles. And the whole, oh, you don't, the whole, we're going to let you keep your hunting rifles argument is stupid. It's stupid because I've never seen one person who makes that argument who acknowledges that the fact that so many shotguns are banned under this and that shouldn't be happening. They're people that I've literally talked with in comments that say, oh, there's no shotguns on here, even though there is by definition. A lot of shotguns are banned under this by definition. Like the stupidity of people nowadays knows no bounds. And even a lot of gun owners, it's the stupid FUD, oh, they won't come after our hunting rifles and shotguns argument. That is stupid. You guys are retarded if anyone out there believes that, because they're already banning some shotguns. They're already banning anything over the 20 millimeter limit. And the problem is that certain RCMP detachments and people that I've talked to said, yeah, we won't enforce that. Certain ones say we will. And that's the problem too, is how do you know? Like I've talked to people from, where I shoot, and the people I've talked to said, yeah, the cops say they won't enforce that, but how do you know you won't come across a peace officer or a fish and game officer that doesn't know you that will? That's the problem. And what if you're transporting your guns and you come across them? That's the problem. So, and not to mention too, they're banning guns literally overnight. They're adding guns to the list. You could go out hunting in the morning, especially when duck season or hunting season's coming up. Your gun could be legal that morning, and they ban it that day, and you're coming home, and you come across a Fish and Wildlife or RCMP or whoever, and it's banned, and you get arrested because of it. This is the problem: is that I really hope, if there's any justice in the Canadian legal system, they won't get away with this. And the whole issue of the fact that it's undemocratic is not the hill to die on. I brought that up multiple times. The fact that they went through the OIC is not the hill to die on. As far as a legal perspective, maybe, but as far as the average gun owner's perspective, no. The hill to die on is that this is going to do absolutely nothing to prevent crime. Several police chiefs have been on the record. I literally made a video about one of them, talking about that. So don't claim that I'm not making stuff up. The hill to die on is the fact that of all the guns on the list, they've killed 20 people in Canadian history. We're going to spend at least 2 or 3 billion. That's the numbers they're showing. Government projects always come in over budget. By the time it's all said and done, it'll probably be 5, 6, maybe upwards of 10. Who knows? And we're going to spend tens of millions of dollars, maybe even more, to save a life. Like, if you put that money into cancer research, if you put that money into educating doctors, if you put that money into pretty much anything else, you'd save 10, 100 times more people. So this is not about saving lives. The left, once you debunk them on every one of their anti-gun arguments, they always fall back on, though, you have to admit that it would save one life or a handful of lives, which is still debatable. But even if that is true, it still makes no sense. If we save those 20 people and spend billions of dollars to do it, how does that math add up? How does that math add up? Because we're literally spending, let's just say 2 billion people, 20 people, we're spending $100 million to save one life. That is not a good way of doing things whatsoever. Imagine if we spent that $100 million on cancer research, or on, like, say, educating the public on the health, on educating the public on educating doctors too. far more people die every year of medical malpractice. Doctors prescribing wrong pills, doctors doing anything like that, doctors just flat out screwing up when trying to save someone because they're not trained properly. If we spent that money on anything, um, even a smidge of that money, we would save far more people. So that's basically to bring it full circle. Bill Blair is a liar. He's knowingly lying. There's no way that someone that can be the public safety minister of Canada can be this ignorant. They're lying, they're making stuff up, or at the very least being very manipulative to support their agenda. The AR-15 has never been used in a shooting in Canada, and the fact that you have to add in the whole guns like it and weapons like it, like define a weapon like an AR-15. I mean, for all we're saying, that could be any gun. That could be a single shot shotgun is a weapon similar to an AR-15. They've literally banned 22s because they claim they're AR-15 variants. They've banned pump action shotguns because they claim they're AR-15 variants. The fact that these people have to have such a loosely defined definition to support their paranoia just goes to show that they know nothing, and they're just trying to ram their agenda down our throats with no evidence, and that is the big problem. That is the big problem. So anyway, to sum it all up, Bill Blair is either an outright pants on fire liar, or he is literally one of the most manipulative people that exist in governments today. And I think it's more, even though I do think that he's lying about a lot of stuff, he's been caught lying about his stuff. There's no way that they don't know this kind of stuff. There's no way that they don't know how many times the AR-15 has been used to kill people in Canada. Because if the AR-15 had been used 1,000 times, are we honestly not going to pretend that they wouldn't be saying, "Oh, the AR-15 has been used to kill 1,000 people in Canadian history"? Of course, they would be talking about that. So the fact that it hasn't been used just goes to show that they're just manipulating us. They're lying to us. So anyway, I've talked about a lot of stuff, so I'm going to leave the video there. If you liked it, make sure to tap like and subscribe. Check out my PayPal and email. I got linked in the description. Appreciate any donations, but at the very least, just hit that like and subscribe if you haven't already. And last couple of things, check me out on Twitter. Check me out on BitChute. It's very important that people support people that are speaking the truth, so check out all the links that are in the description.